What was the most shocking thing you heard the quiet kid say? Nothing. Let me explain. I took a class with Sun Hui Cho, the Virginia Tech shooter, one semester before the shooting. The class was called Contemporary Horror. It was a one-time elective offered by my favorite professor. We read horror novels, and watched horror films, and discussed the craft of creating scary stories, but also how they reflected, or represented their era's fears. It was a great class. There were only about 15 students, and it was discussion heavy. Cho was one of them. I honestly never noticed him, even in that small class, until halfway into the semester. He wasn't quiet, he was silent. So on the day we all finally noticed him, our professor asked him something directly, and Cho just stared at him. I can't remember the question, but the nature of it meant silence was potentially an acceptable and funny response. So we all laughed, except Cho. He just kept staring at our professor. Our laughter awkwardly died, and after a few moments of uncomfortable silence, our professor just said, "Okay," and moved on. It was so strange. But I forgot about that weird moment until after his rampage. That professor later told me that Cho's papers had been disturbing, but the nature of our course meant the envelope was being pushed a bit, and it had never been bad enough to suggest he'd do what he did. That professor was a good man, and he admitted he struggled with not blaming himself on some level for one, not identifying how severe Cho's mental health problems were, and two, for the graphic and terrible nature of some of what we watched in that class, which may have inspired Cho. He knew that was bullshit, but a part of him couldn't help but feel some blame. It was terribly sad. Edit. Added the second paragraph. 72 virgins is nowhere near enough virgins for eternity. That's like a week's worth of virgins. Playing rugby, hooker fails completely at line out. Someone shouts jokingly, "Does anyone know any good hookers to replace Patrick?" Quietest guy on the team. Never hear him say anything. Maybe Patrick's mum can help. Proceed to fall on floor. Edit. Line out, line in. It's all the same. So this one kid, who barely ever said 2 words, one day, asks the teacher for the time. It was at some after school thing and there was no clock. The teacher says the classic time for you to get a watch, which for some reason was funny to everyone else. The quiet kid doesn't laugh. He looks the teacher dead in the eyes, and once everyone quieted down, he says, "So are you gonna tell me the fucking time, or what?" We were in like 7th grade. One of my students hardly said a word all year until a couple weeks ago. I was trying to get a group of talkative ones under control, and she had enough. She yells out, "Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to work, you fucking assholes." Awkward silence followed, because I didn't know how to handle the normally studious and quiet one losing it. An annoying friend, Dylan. Quiet kid, "You're so fucking stupid sometimes." Dylan, "At least I don't suck massive dick all the time." This was when I was in my first semester of college 2 years ago. There was this girl who never said a word. The teacher would ask her questions, she would just not say a word. I can honestly never remember her even making a noise. One day the teacher got upset. He felt like she was ignoring him and that she was being disrespectful, so he, like an asshole, said, "Did no one teach you how to speak?" She stood up, walked up to the whiteboard, grabbed his marker, and wrote, "I'm mute, you foolish fucker." Apparently no one ever told the teacher that she had a disability, but she was one badass motherfucker for taking his marker out of his hand and writing that lol. In junior high in the mid-80s, the game Trivial Pursuit was all the rage. We played it in math class one day, and this kid, Gary, who never said anything at all, totally spanked everyone else by answering every single sports related trivia question. He got a lot of attention for it, and I believe he walked a little taller after that day. I don't think I ever heard him say anything else, but I did see him sitting on the bleachers at a few sports events. At school, having just shown me the scope for supposedly his sniper rifle, "If the fire alarm ever goes off and you can't find me, don't use the doors as an exit." What if we killed everyone with cancer to stop it from spreading? We were chillin' at a bar in Prague and someone rolled up some hash oil and tobacco and passed it around. The quiet kid hid it and got even quieter. 20 minutes later some aggressive, growling black metal comes on and out of nowhere he yells, "Kill your parents." We fucking lost it. He was pretty happy with himself. The quiet kid from my grade stood up one day, grabbed a broom, stood on a chair, and began trying to swat bees that got inside. One bee landed on the window where quiet kid proceeded to yell "Die bee die" and then swatted and shattered the window. He screeched when it happened and then sat back down. Never heard him speak again. Wow, literally this question came at a perfect time. I was just thinking about this, and it was by far in sophomore year of high school. This kid was so odd that honestly no one ever really noticed him. But one day he's sitting across from me at a table, and he sees this one girl in really tight shorts and goes, "God, I could have my head up her ass for months." It was pretty shocking. There was this one quiet girl in my class, and she would never say anything. This was around 3rd or 4th grade, but I would always try and get her to talk. I would be nice, like when she had no paper in her binder I'd take notice and give her some before she can ask. When she was searching for a pencil in her bag I gave her an extra one I had. It was like small little acts. Picking up her pencil when she dropped it, etc. Then at lunch this kid was picking on me. I was short, weak, and very emotional back then. She came out of nowhere and told the guy, "I'll give you 3 seconds to walk away." I was stunned because those were the first words I've ever heard her say. The guy slapped me and she did a straight kick to his balls after that. I was honored and shocked she ever said anything. She never said anything after that, but I did say thanks. TL, DR 3rd grade, quiet girl kicks my bully's balls after saying "I'll give you 3 seconds to walk away." It was the only thing I ever heard her say. Edit, texted friend that I did get to keep in touch with from back then. She said that quiet girl moved shortly after I did. She did have quiet girl's number. I called it and it came up with "This landline is disconnected BS." Now I'm struggling even more. I need to find this girl. The girl I texted though didn't even know her last name. No one really did, I guess. What high school she goes to is still unknown. Where she lives still unknown. All is not lost though. I'm still waiting on a Facebook Messenger reply to see if another girl knows her last name. I did try just typing in her first name on Facebook, and I probably typed Elena's name 100 different ways and found nothing. She is not able to be publicly searched on Facebook. Neither am I, but geez, it sucks. I have one last hope, cross his fingers. If you can all cross your fingers with me, it might just work. Edit 2. I learned that I won't be able to talk to her. Through a list of people I got her mom's number. Her mom apparently remembered me by name, and then she said that she is in circumstances caused by family not letting her talk to anyone or go anywhere for a while. I never was able to find out why, but you know, it sucks. I'll update if I ever talk to her. If I ever see her I'll take a photo with her. Tomorrow I'm going to try to talk to her mom again to find out what happened. Thanks for the help, Reddit. If I ever marry her I will share anything but her body and love with you. Edit 3. Thanks again Reddit for all y'all who've cared about my little story. As someone pointed out, it's been 5 months, and I want to add very little has changed. She and I still aren't exactly allowed to talk. I've talked to her mum a couple times. I've talked to her once, and it's been better than the silence between the years. I've learned things like her current height and seen a picture of her, one she took when we got to chat once, but it doesn't look like there's much to work with in talking to her. Her mother was deemed unfit to parent or something like that in court against her dad's parents. I haven't asked about her dad, but I assume he's dead or ran off. I changed some of the things in this edit to avoid having too much info about her out there, but I know I won't be able to take any of it down from the internet for good. So far it looks like the only chance I'll get to talk to her again is when she turns 18 in a year and a half. My asshole is this big while making a circle with her fingers. Edit. Lots have asked how big it was. It was probably the size of a euro. Not too big, not too small. Just like Goldilocks' asshole. I'm sure it was just right. And no, unfortunately I did not check the old turd cutter out. I failed you, Reddit. I'm sorry. I feel like an asshole about this big. Quiet kid sneezes. Boy behind her. God bless you. Huh. God isn't real. In kindergarten, there was this kid, Donatello, and he never said a word. He was nice enough, played games and everything, but completely silent. One day we were looking out the classroom window as a cop drove by. Donatello opens his mouth and says police car. At the time, we were all excited to hear him speak, but looking back, that kid must have had some real dark history. This douchebag kid who constantly fucked with people was in line with the quiet kid and the quiet kid's friend. The quiet kid is a bit overweight, so when he gets up to the lunch lady and gets his chicken nuggets, the douchebag says, "You don't want extra nuggets, big guy?" The quiet kid out of nowhere just starts ranting, "No, I'm all set, but what are you up to this weekend? You wanna hang out, grab some food, maybe fuck a bit? I like to be on top and you look like a bottom. What do you say, wanna fuck tonight?" The entire line is dead silent. The douchebag starts getting all pissed off and acting like has gonna start a fight, and the quiet kid says, "Okay fine, you can be top, baby." The douchebag kid leaves to the entire line laughing their asses off at his expense. No idea if the quiet kid was gay or he just knew that even jokingly suggesting the douche kid was a homosexual would upset him more than anything. But I do know he left the line with his delicious chicken nuggets and a huge smile on his face. In middle school, the quiet kid, Steven, had an arch rival, Robbie. In class, Robbie always seemed to come out on top of their little scuffles, mostly because Steven couldn't really formulate or execute a burn or a comeback. He just rolled over and let Robbie get his insult in until the teacher stepped in. One day I was walking behind Robbie after that class and Steven quietly crept up behind him. Before Robbie could even turn around, he got as close as possible and said, "If I was to come into your house and kill you while you were sleeping, I doubt anyone would even notice." Then he disappeared into the darkness of the science hallway. I don't remember the exact words, but that was pretty damn close. I was about 55% shocked, 30% laughing hysterically on the inside, and 15% terrified. Robbie never made fun of old Stevie again. In class we were studying genetics, and one guy was being a real douche and the teacher couldn't get him to shut up. Then after discussing inbreeding in dogs, one quiet kid raises his hand and says, "So is this likely how Peter, douche, became so fucking retarded?" I was the quiet kid. I go to a private school, so there's a fair share of spoiled, privileged kids. In any case, while most people are pretty nice, there's a lot of complaining. Anyways, I was in English class, which is one of my favorites, except that I don't really have any friends in the class. I had trained myself to not say anything, because when I did I was usually met with groans and a chorus of /u/r claiming for Brewer is doing it again. The teacher was a nice, young, pretty English major, who had also gone to a private school, so she was used to well-behaved kids. To her delight, my class is that. The only negative quality about most of the students is, like I said, complaining about completely inane things. Somewhat early in the year, when she was still under the impression that we were all well-behaved, uniform young men and women, during a quiz a random girl decided to start whining about analogies. Understand, this is the kind of class where talking during quizzes is socially acceptable, because it's understood that no one's cheating or dumb enough to cheat by straight up asking people the answer. I had gotten pretty sick of the complaining, so after she finished her rant about analogies, I pulled out an old line from Dave Berry, thus ruining my class's state of grace forever. And that's why I started doing heroin. At the time I thought that would be pretty hilarious, but instead the class just stared at me, and the shocked teacher couldn't seem to find the words to say. No one in the class really knew me well, so they had no reason to believe I was joking. For the rest of the year, no one complained about analogies. We sat in the classroom in I think 5th grade. My friend had done a PowerPoint presentation about Eminem. He talked about that he lived in a trailer as a young boy, and the quiet straight A student stands up and says "just like you" and asks to use the toilet. No one understood anything of what just happened. We live in North Europe. It's practically no one that lives in a trailer here. My friend didn't. Our quiet kid was Tommy. Tommy never said anything ever. Out of all the lunches we ate at our table senior year, I think Tommy was the only one who never told a story or even added anything to the conversation. He just always sat in the same spot along the wall eating his lunch and laughing occasionally at our jokes. One day we were sitting in the cafeteria eating lunch and sharing stories like we always do. My friend Raymond had spent the previous night with a girl named Haley. She was 2 years younger, but already had a reputation of hooking up with a lot of different guys. So he was telling us everything that went down, kind of bragging, even though nobody was really impressed as we were aware of Haley's reputation. Anyways, Raymond gets done telling his story, then proceeds to pull out his sandwich. I think it was some sort of fish. It didn't look very appealing to Raymond or Russ, so he says this looks disgusting, but I'll give it a try anyways, and proceeds to take a bite. In pipes Tommy, "Is that what you said about Haley last night?" Everyone explodes into laughter, drawing the attention of the entire cafeteria. Raymond is just sitting there, mid-bite, stunned. I'm bent over in pain from laughing. Others are on the floor. One guy ran to the bathroom because he thought he was going to puke from laughing. Even Ray had to laugh. I never noticed him laugh, but Tommy had this sly grin on his face the rest of the lunch hour. "Kid, I've never heard you say anything loudly. You need to shout something out." "Quiet kid." "What?" "Kid, shout something." In the middle of a classroom, a full blow high pitched roar is heard. "Quiet kid." "Christmas." It was a Muslim kid who didn't even celebrate Christmas. What a dude. In class he asked the woman teacher if he could go to the toilet. She sternly replied, "You've got 2 minutes, Richard." And Richard says, "2 minutes? It takes me that long to unravel it." Teacher goes red and everyone loses it. We were having a bullshit elective course and we ran out of stuff to do, so we wound up having story time. My friend walks up to the front and starts telling us about how he once got pretty badly injured. Basically he was walking into his friend's house, slipped on some black ice, Fassa planted on it, and his front teeth tore off most of his front lip and broke off. He ran into the house babbling and bleeding. He was like 11 and was missing part of his face, so he wasn't 100% coherent at the time, and his friend's mom takes one look, runs into her bedroom, locks the door, and doesn't do anything until my friend's dad arrives and starts screaming at her. My friend says he still has no idea why the grown adult woman couldn't handle the situation any better, and we all start making guesses and bullshit psychoanalysis. Cue the quiet kid raising his magnificent head and blessing us with enlightenment. Maybe she just needed to finger herself real quick. He started to attack someone in my class with a table when the teacher got a cup of coffee. That was quite something. Wait. He attacked another guy with a table? That's like a whole new level of pistive right there. Edit. Apparently tables were/are the weapon of choice for a lot of people. Edit 2. RIP my inbox. Also tables seem to be the weapon of choice for like half of Reddit. One thing I always say, as a quiet guy, is whenever people are talking about me within earshot they usually say something like, "That Mixmaster Bone, he just never talks." Then I say, "No, but I hear everything." They all just kind of laugh awkwardly and slither away. I think it's weird how my lack of conversation is such a huge conversation starter. Edit. Spelled my name right. Someone once turned to me and said, "Dude, you're always so quiet, like a serial killer or something." I immediately responded, "Thank you." Looks of shock and horror as I realized what I said. I was the quiet kid in this scenario. I'm a skinny white kid, and I was working at Jimmy John's with a bunch of outgoing and loud black kids. While we were closing, I was doing the dishes and everyone else was doing their jobs. When we would close, they would blare rap music through the restaurant speakers. They would always rap the words and be really loud during the songs. So during one of the songs, when it got quiet, I just yelled at the top of my lungs, "WOOOO, this is my shit." And then I just went back to doing the dishes. Everyone looked at me as if I had lobsters crawling out of my ears. That quiet kid was me. My boss had brought cheesecake cupcakes. This was my first time having such a delicious treat, and let me tell you what, those cupcakes were best damn cupcake I have eaten to this very day. So out of nowhere, and without thinking, I say, "Hey Amy, these cupcakes are better than sex." From this day forward, her cupcakes were known as sex cupcakes.